We are going to respond to Who Framed Richard Nixon?
No! No one. It's Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and it's amazing. And we're basically responding because I am stating what I already believe, and he is learning because he's never seen it, and it's a problem.
When was the last time you saw this movie?
Like a year ago. I've seen it like 9,000 times.
So you're gonna try and watch it with fresh eyes. I know a fair bit about this movie just because it's part of the pop culture lexicon. I'm kind of excited. So yes. We just watched Roger Rabbit. We're gonna be responding to specific aspects of the movie. We're gonna do it on a star rating scale, 1 through 5. 1 being unwatchable, 2 not great, 3 pretty good, 4 awesome, and 5 perfect. The following is not going to have spoilers. When we talk about the story later on, we'll give you a spoiler warning, and we'll also tell you where you can skip ahead in the video to skip the spoilers but still see the final score for the overall movie. So the first thing we're going to talk about is just enjoyability. You saw it a year ago, I'd never seen it. How much did you enjoy this? Was this a fun watch for you?
5. Always. It's always a fun watch, and it's still wonderful.
I would give it a 4. I thought it was absolutely enjoyable. The only way I wouldn't give it a 5 is because I found bits of it to be a little bit annoying. Let's talk about the visuals. So this is an animated movie, kind of, and a live action movie, kind of, but it's different from, say, Mary Poppins, where the animated stuff is very flat. This is different because they try to shade and light the characters to match what's going on in live action. This is, you know, what, 80s?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
88.
88. So this is way before any kind of computer assistance. It's technically very impressive. So I was absolutely blown away by the visuals in terms of technicality, in terms of like general aesthetic and visual enjoyment, in terms of composition and light. It's really not very striking. It's not really a pretty movie.
Yeah, I think in general it's got like a dreary vibe to it. But I kind of feel like that was purposeful.
I'll give it a solid 3.5 in terms of visuals for me.
I would agree, but yeah, it's so cool.
It is so
And
cool.
it's so interesting because they put so many details in every shot. I think that I would give it a 4.
So acting.
4.5? They seemed good to me. They seemed great. I think they cast everybody really well.
I thought it was serviceable. It was just fine. You're not gonna watch it and be like, wow, that was a bad performance. You're gonna get sucked in and enjoy the characters. So I give it a solid 3. Sound. This movie wants to live in a lot of different worlds. It wants to kind of be a film noir, but at the same time it also wants to be a zany cartoon, and it does a great job of balancing this throughout the story and visually, and it also does a great job through the sound at balancing this, because you'll go from sort of like a film noir to just the silliest, almost Mickey Mouse type cartoon in terms of music.
Yeah.
Overall, I thought it was just fine, so I'd give it a 3.5.
He's all like, yeah, and then this happened, and then 3.5.
That's good.
It's
But if
good.
3 is pretty good and 4 is awesome. Awesome to me is memorable.
Awesome. I think it's awesome.
Cool. So you give it a 4.
Awesome. 4.
The next thing we're going to talk about is the story. If you're okay with spoilers, keep on watching. If you don't want spoilers, on the screen somewhere around here is a time code. And the time code will tell you where to skip forward if you just want to see the final score, but you don't want any spoilers. This movie's been out for a little while, so if you haven't seen it, then you're probably really behind the times.
You go.
Alright, so Roger Rabbit is, it's a great idea. It's like, what if cartoon characters in cartoons were real, but we just filmed them segregated-like so that their own zany world would appear to the rest of the world as though it were just something completely separate from reality, and cartoon characters can interact with reality and all that jazz, but there's sort of some friction there, so they live in cartoon land or whatever, and we live in real people land or whatever. There is some mingling, and there are some nice little allegories for maybe some sort of racial tension.
Yeah.
It's super cool. But the detective, whose brother was killed by a cartoon, obviously, he's got a lot of emotions to sort out against cartoon people.
But they were detectives for cartoons before.
They used to be, yes.
Yeah.
So he decides he's got to get this money to pay off some bills. So he takes a job to figure out what's going on in the conflicted relationship between Jessica Rabbit, who's like a supermodel cartoon, and Roger Rabbit, who's just the epitome of annoying cartoon character.
They're married.
Throughout which, people end up getting murdered, and it gets blamed on Roger, and he thinks maybe his wife's being unfaithful, then he finds out she's not, and then our detective is sort of guilted and pulled into it to clear Roger's name. Who framed Roger Rabbit is the big question. Dun, dun, dun. Well, it turns out it's the creepy-looking judge who's acting creepy the whole time, who likes to kill cartoon characters. Who would have thought? And he's like dipping them in turpentine.
But he's a great character.
He is
so fun.
He's played by Doc Brown from Back to the Future. Yeah, overall, it's a predictable movie, but it's a really, really fun movie because they throw so many cameos, from Dumbo to the Mary Poppins penguins to Daffy Duck getting in a fight with
Donald. Apparently, they had to make sure that they always had the same amount of Disney characters as they did Warner Brothers characters on the screen at the same time for it to be okay to use any of them.
Makes sense.
So, it made sense why certain characters like Donald Duck and Daffy were doing stuff together, and then Mickey and Bugs were doing stuff together, and it's like,
yeah.
Why?
And in the 80s, cartoons were like much more of a big deal, especially that style, that traditional style, than they are today. So the equivalent today would be DC and Marvel making a co-movie.
Which I want.
Half the movie would suck because it's DC, and the other half would be awesome because it's Marvel.
Okay, I want the people that direct and make the Marvel movies to basically have a little more control, but use the DC people.
There we go.
And then it'll be amazing.
Yeah, so overall, I would give the story a 4. Not because it does anything new, but because it approaches an old story with such a fresh and interesting angle. This is not a movie for kids. There is so much that goes on that is just not child appropriate, despite containing childhood properties, crams to the gills. So the demographics of this are very strange, and it came out in the 80s when they marketed freaking RoboCop at kids.
Although, mind you, it's no Cool World. Good grief, that movie is the worst.
Let's not talk about that movie. Anyway, I've been doing a lot of gabbing.
5.
Tell us why.
It's just so good. It just gets better.
Do you feel like your nostalgia is coloring your reaction?
Which
is
I
fine,
don't care.
because this isn't like an analytical show. This is more of a reaction type thing.
I mean, it totally is, but I also think every part of the movie that we've gone over are all really good.
Yeah.
At least for me, we're decently high. So overall, that it probably shouldn't be perfect. It probably should be more of a 4 or 4.5. But I don't care. It's just so good. It's a 5.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit? I loved it. I had not seen it before. I would definitely recommend it to anyone with a slight sense of humor, an affection for cartoons, and probably over the age of 12. So, yeah, check it out. It's righteous. Final words?
I love it.